everyone, it's Tenitzu here, and today we'll be covering the fourth part of what if Naruto was a Hyuga. You can find a playlist of the rest of the series in the description, but without further ado, let's just get straight into part 4. 3 years really have passed, huh? Naruto said as he walked back into the village, now being in his teenage years, having turned 16 just recently. He had become quite tall now, and everyone greeted him heartily before he was summoned to the Hokage office, where he met Kakashi, who he gifted the last book of his favorite ecchi series, before learning of the second belt test, which was going to be the day after. Naruto continued enjoying himself that day until he visited the house of the main branch of the Hyuga clan. Hinata was surprised when she saw him, but he had a determined look on his face as he entered the estate. When he walked in front of the head of the Hyuga clan, he bowed his head, asking them to please accept him into their estate and to teach him the techniques of the Hyuga clan, but they refused. "You are no Hyuga here," to which Naruto stood up, incredibly offended. "I am as much as a Hyuga as anyone here," which the head of the Hyuga clan denied before Naruto walked out seemingly furious, but then he smirked. "Dumbass," he whispered as 100 Naruto clones walked beside him. They had written down everything that they had stored in terms of techniques and more, and so Naruto began practicing the Hyuga techniques all day. The next day, Naruto woke up tired as a dog, but still awake enough to, as it turns out, almost fight evenly with Kakashi. Naruto gotten incredibly strong over the past few years, with his drive to bring back Sasuke having been enlarged by hundreds, due to his close friendship with him. When Kakashi saw this, he even activated his Sharingan just to win this fight, but Naruto stopped, just like he did back in the day, both belts in his hand, to which Kakashi smiled and said, "You haven't changed one bit after all," with Naruto laughing loudly and nodding. The next week passed by smoothly, with Naruto training his Hyuga Taijutsu, adapting some of it to work better with his own style of fighting before getting the horrible news. Gaara had been taken and might already be dead, but either way they had to find out, and that started the Gaara rescue mission. Naruto quickly headed out for the mission with everyone in his team following him. He could waste no time after all in a circumstance like this. When the team got to Sunagakure, Sakura began doing her thing with her medical jutsu, curing Kankuro alongside creating an antidote to Sasuke's poison. Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi went another way, where they ended up meeting quote-unquote Itachi, but Naruto told Kakashi, "Don't bother fighting him, he's clearly not Itachi, just some random guy." Naruto knocked him out, revealing his true form as they continued following the traces of Sasori they had found on Kankuro's puppets. When they got to the two Akatsuki members, Naruto saw Deidara disrespecting the Kazekage's corpse, which caused him to lash out at him. "Don't you dare do that!" And he flew at Deidara, kicking him off of Gaara's corpse with so much power that, with the help of one Adama Sengun, he was able to completely annihilate the clone of Deidara before rushing back to watch Sakura's fight as, having calmed down, he wanted Sakura to fight this and win on her own. When the fights concluded, Naruto sat down next to Gaara as tears began flowing from his face, but asked Grandma Cheer smiled at him as she began a jutsu which allowed to exchange her life for his. Before she could fully pass away, she told Naruto, "I entrust this world to you and Gaara," to which he nodded, wiping his tears from his eyes, saying, "And I'll take good care of it," and she closed her eyes slowly as she began smiling. That boy really was brash, until fully succumbing to death. As Gaara opened his eyes, he saw bright light until seeing some familiar golden brown spiky hair. "Naruto?" he said as he slowly got up, and Naruto hugged him as they shouted that they needed to throw a massive party, and that they did, with everyone having an incredibly good time as they not only celebrated Gaara, but also Chihiro's sacrifice, with their relation between the Sand and the Leaf becoming the strongest bond there was in the world. They spent the next day partying before heading back to the Leaf in the middle of the day, where Naruto began training his taijutsu once more. When they heard of the next mission, Naruto was curious as to who would be joining them, but when he saw Sai, he instantly disliked him and was dismissive of the guy, as, not only was he emotionless, he was like Sasuke with all the fun drained out of him. When they finally went on their mission, they had a clear plan which was set in motion the moment Kabuto came into view, which is when Kakashi activated his Sharingan, placing Kabuto on a Genjutsu, which seemed to go swimmingly until Kabuto suddenly threw a massive shuriken at the team. "That was a truly weak Genjutsu there, Kakashi," Kabuto said in his disgustingly smug tone, but Naruto didn't let him say anything more as a massive orange chakra bubbled over his body. "Don't you dare speak ill of my sensei, you friend-stealing bastard!" And with a scream he blew the trees away alongside Kabuto, knocking him out. My, you seem to have grown quite strong there, Naruto," in his slick, snake-like voice. which made Naruto's anger spike as everyone, even Kakashi, backed off from him as Naruto's skin began peeling off as he turned into a gigantic mass of chakra. No, of hate. Naruto sped toward Orochimaru as he gave him an incredible uppercut, slamming him back onto the ground afterward, causing a massive amount of damage to his body. Pack quite a punch too, Orochimaru said laughing. He might even be stronger than Sasuke. Keep his name out of your mouth. Naruto shut it back even through his form. He was able to form that sentence before he pulled himself back down by lengthening his lips and hooking onto Orochimaru, where he fired a Viju bomb at him from point blank range, completely annihilating his lower half, as Orochimaru seemed to have either passed out or died. Naruto began taking his rage out on the forest before quieting down just enough for Kakashi to barely get in a ceiling tag, which managed to keep the chakra down for long enough for Kakashi to knock him out cold. But something seemed to be missing, which was pointed out by a slowly waking up Naruto. "Where's Sai?" he said, looking around with Kakashi telling him he went that way, which confused Sakura, and so she asked him how he knew that, and Kakashi revealed that he could know where everyone was just with his ninja dogs alone, and so they quickly followed after Sai. Naruto got some rest on Kakashi's back when they suddenly came to the area where Sai was. They found Sasuke standing above everyone before blitzing down as Naruto stood up. "Long time no see, Naruto," he said, clapping him on his back as he asked, "Have you become the Hokage yet?" But Naruto shook his head as he said, "I'll do that once I get you back to the village," which made Sasuke smirk before disappearing with Kabuto, who came back, hiding the barely holding onto life Orochimaru. Naruto smiled as he walked back to the village, and when he was asked by Sakura as to why he was smiling, he told her, "I finally know that I'm not lesser to Sasuke." And he was correct. In both of their base forms, they were perfectly equal. Alongside this feeling of incredible joy, Naruto was sneakily told by Jiraiya that Naruto might even become a Jonin soon, once he got his anger under control, which made him meditate for the next 3 days in a row. Due to the looming threat of the Akatsuki, Kakashi pulled him aside and asked him if he wanted to help further developing the Rasengan, to which he nodded and quickly began his training with Wind Style. He had only learned the very basics of elemental chakra, being able to use jutsu without any real issue, but unknowingly to him that would be incredibly useful, as he managed to develop his Wind Style Rasen Shuriken so quickly that he managed to develop another technique in the short time of the fight, his own mix of taijutsu and ninjutsu. What will I name it? Oh, I know! I'll name it Tenjutsu, but Kakashi shot that idea down quickly before they both agreed on naming it Wind Style 60 Palms of Death, which was a reference to the 1000 Years of Death, which, as you all know, is the strongest technique in the Naruto verse. This was the Hyuga Taijutsu combined with tiny little Wind Style Rasengans on each finger, which amped the power of the Palm Taijutsu by 100 times at least, and also fit Naruto's explosive personality much better. As the fight between Kakuzu and Hidan against Teams 10 and Kakashi raged on, Naruto finally arrived as he jumped down, throwing his Rasen Shuriken at Kakuzu before screaming at this, "Take this, you tentacle monster! Wind Style, 60 Palms of Death!" and completely annihilated what was left of Kakuzu, killing him. After this, the Itachi pursuit artwork stayed the same, with Naruto still gaining the crow from Itachi and everything. Everything seemed to be going great for Naruto. He had created his own jutsus, perfected his future shell for the Byakugan, and even defeated a member of the Akatsuki all on his own. It really couldn't go better. Jiraiya has passed away. These were the words that shattered everything Naruto had. Every single one of his accomplishments were now overshadowed by the death of not only his teacher, but his friend, his father figure, his everything. It was all taken away by pain. Naruto knew that walling around in pain and sadness wouldn't bring him anywhere, so he forced himself to train until his knuckles bled. He needed to stay strong. He couldn't just live in the village, its protection needed to be his priority. But even then, Naruto just couldn't do it without Jiraiya. When he heard who had done the act, Naruto knew he was going to take that damn fool and make him feel that exact pain too. And so, Naruto made sure to follow the toad back to their land and to learn Sage Mode. Every day he trained and trained. He had it nice with the toads, of course, and he even had fun, but his main objective was learning and perfecting Sage Mode, and that's exactly what he did. When he finally came to the village in the midst of the Pain invasion, Naruto made sure to tell Pain, "This is in the name of Jiraiya," as he flew toward the Pain's kicking one away and throwing a Rasen Shuriken at the Pain and anatomizing him. The next Pain didn't have it any better, as Naruto easily outskilled him in close combat, and when the Pain attempted to throw a bomb at Naruto, the latter threw him at another Pain, taking the two of them out. It was an absolute slaughter, with Naruto having no mercy for the Pains until coming to the final path, the Diva Path. The Diva Path was stronger than him, he couldn't deny it. When he was inevitably overpowered, he was asked what made him Pain so wrong in the first place, but Naruto didn't need an answer, just replying to him that he had killed everyone Naruto loved. But when Pain had a comeback to that too, Naruto just became quiet until Hinata stepped in to help him. Naruto wasn't stuck to the ground this time, so he was able to fight alongside her, with their bond becoming closer every strike. "I love you, Naruto," and she was stabbed through the stomach by Pain. Rage. He could only feel that single emotion coursing through his veins. As Naruto burst out with six tails as he began completely destroying the Diva Path's body, but he didn't kill it. No. He needed to make it suffer as he just pounded and pounded on it before slowly reverting to his human form. "This is for Hinata," Naruto said, stabbing through his chest with a kunai before performing a massive Fern Shuriken. "And this is for Jiraiya." Naruto killed the Diva Path. He wasn't satisfied at all, and so Naruto ran to where the real Pain was. Nagato Uzumaki was hiding, where he was finally able to cool himself down enough to discuss with Nagato, and with the words of his late master was able to convince him that this world still had hope. "I leave this to you, Naruto," he said, removing his eye from his socket and placing it in Naruto's hands before clapping his hands together as he smiled and said, "And I leave the hope of peace to the world in your hands too." And so Nagato revived everyone, with Naruto now having attained a Rinnegan, but he didn't want it. That Rinnegan had the blood of Jiraiya on it. So he placed it on Jiraiya's grave, leaving it to rest with him speaking to the eye. "You two can rest now," before walking away. Now I hope you all enjoyed this part of the series. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and comment maybe. But without further ado, this was Tenitzu and I am out.